transportation on the farms. There are about 150 boats, or one of their 2 choppers. The choppers are used for transportation of the spats and other farming materials. I was lucky enough to go for a few rides. The views from above are nothing short of breathtaking, so here are a few of my chopper rides and a little tour of the surrounding areas. This is a produce farm set up to teach the local people proper and sustainable farming techniques.
You want to explain what you need next? We need the technology.
Yeah, so basically from the hatchery you have several stages in pro farming. So first we have to breed the oysters, then we have to grow them out, and then that takes maybe 2 years, 2 to 3 years, yeah, 3 years. And then after then, it's only then we can select the proper oysters and then operate them, then put them on a separate site within the farm, and then have them culture the pros. But that's just put very simply. Now that process is very complex. We've identified that between man and the oyster, there's probably about 323 steps that we have to go through.
At least the process.
Yeah, and that's the process. So about 323 steps that we have to go through in order to get the perfect pearl. And what we've noticed is that each of these steps, whether it's scrubbing the babies or selecting them, separating them, changing nets, because obviously they grow in size, so we have to use different nets for different stages. Each one of these stages contributes to the quality of the final product. It's a very sensitive organism, so we have to really take a lot of care for it, like babies. Like sometimes in the grow out departments, you will see the marine biologists singing to the babies and stuff. So yeah, and from that, as you know, we specialize in the golden South Sea pearl. Now that was a long process to begin with, because naturally the golden South Sea pearl is very, very rare, and it still is actually. But with the hatchery technology, after about 20 years, we've been able to reproduce oysters which have a genetic tendency or so we think, to produce golden pearls, and therefore increase the overall production of golden pearls. So now I think you'll see in the hatchery we're in our about 4th or 5th generation of oysters. Yeah.
Education, what about the education if they have
Yeah,
kids?
we in the most isolated island we have our own school, and here we do support some school nearby, and we do have education. However, some family leave their children when they reach a certain age with their relative, and they have better, bigger school in bigger cities. So they definitely have to make some family and personal sacrifice in order to reconcile the isolation of the island and the interest of the education of their children. So it is something which really is part of the value of the pearl, is how many people are really committing their life to the pearl, the perfect pearl. Would you like to explain, or maybe Jean-Christophe, what's the perfect pearl, or do you, and are you comfortable with it?
Yeah.
So can you explain, what's a perfect pearl?
So, well, for us, the perfect pearl is a perfectly symmetric round pearl. That is, of course, of the golden color, because the golden color is actually more than just a color. It's like psychological for us to be, going for gold, and it's actually the hardest to produce. We've noticed that the oysters produce about 5 to 7 layers a day once they've been seeded. So you can think about the number of layers at over 2 years. Now these layers have to be very symmetric in order for the luster to come out, the color to come out, and so it's quite a long process. Yeah.
While traveling through the farms, you notice many floating workstations. This one in particular is where baby oysters are removed from their nets and undergo their monthly cleaning. The reason that they are cleaned monthly is to remove competing resources. Competing resources are organisms that live off the shells and compete with the oysters for food and nutrients.
Salt water running as to not damage the shell. And you have a lot of things on it, a lot of organisms which basically can be removed. So you just clean the shell like that. So yeah, you see that's another mussel living off the shell. There's a lot of other organisms that attach onto this thing.
But despite your constant tending to them,
Yeah.
it still happens.
Yeah. See, there's another one there, that's a barnacle.
¿Pero le está haciendo daño? ¿Te duele? ¿No?
Why do you have to clean it before
Well, we clean them also to remove more competition from the oyster, because all of these that are staying on there are fighting for food and are giving it a hard time to get more food.
but
Yeah.
now the oyster is more or less the end of its life.
Yes, that's right.
So why do you clean it now?
Because when it goes into the operation stage, it's just so that the technicians have something clean also to work with, and they don't contaminate the area.
Then they have to
Yeah.
put it back again.
Yeah, and
So technically,
see,
she's
you
going
have-
to die.
You have that's a little organism that was living as well here, this
Okay.
part of the oyster. So you have a lot of things living in the oysters. And so all that goes into that bag, and that's the same sort of materials that, remember on the working raft, I showed you we collect all the organic, and then we have it cleaned, yeah.
So technically,
basically
she's
it.
going to die.
Yes.
Technically, she's going to die.
No. Depends. If she comes out with a good pearl, then we will do a second operation, which I will explain later. But usually after this stage, they're at the end of their cycle already, and so therefore we cut them. Because if not, if we leave them out in the wild, there'll be too much competition for
Gather.
food, And also, usually when they die, they have some infections, so we don't want this disease to be spread.
Okay, let's see what happened here.
The circles too.
So see, it's a surprise. You never know what's gonna happen. But these ones usually they're cut because we don't think that they will produce nice pearls. Does someone want to put their hand in and find it? Wait, I'll just point out the different things. So this is the mantle.
Okay.
And these are the gills that they use for feeding. That's the muscle. And this is the gonad, or the pearl sac.
And where is the pearl?
The pearl is in here. You have to find it. So that we have the pearl there, as you can see, which is we have a round thing just to compare size, and then you can see the pearl inside the oyster there.
So which one is which?
This is the pearl inside the oyster. This is the sample.
Okay.
Okay. Exactly.
Now I saw one come out here before. Why is that?
These ones are the special ones. Basically, much bigger.
After it has been decided that the pearl must be removed from the oyster through an operation, the shells are placed in these warm water tanks to relax them. This makes it easier to insert the wedge, which you will see in the next step.
I will show there's the competitor.
No, thank you.
You can have a look.
All right.
Dexter's been doing this for 15 years. Many words, and they are like all different. We can still use them, right? And it's a golden one.
Champagne.
Champagne?
It's better here in the daylight.
It's not even that bad though.
It's carbonated.
What happened?
That's carbonated?
They refuse?
Yeah.
Oh my.
It refused?
Yeah.
Okay.
God, that's... Boy, we're making all the good examples.
In a whole production, why?
Unbelievable. And he's maybe done, what, 6 since we've been standing here?
So you can imagine for your order, Josh, how many oysters we had to go.
Leading up to this point, each and every oyster has been tended to and cared for throughout the 5-year process, from its infancy up until the pearl harvest. There is absolutely no guarantee of the quality of pearl you'll find once the oyster is open, but what is guaranteed is that hundreds of workers poured their heart and souls into their work, taking every possible step to produce that one magical pearl of absolute perfection.